Welcome in, everybody, to the Paddock Studio here at Woodbine Mohawk Park. Mark McKelvey pinch hitting tonight on the desk and up in the announcer's booth a little bit later on for an 11-race Sunday evening program. Hopefully you're having a wonderful weekend, ready to cap it off with some great racing action. And as always, Hall of Famer Randy Waples. And pleasure to sit beside you here tonight to finish up this weekend. We're going to try and stay warm, a little on the cooler side today, but I guess the wind was kind of a story as I was talking about during the changes, Randy. And you and I were talking just before we came on camera about the days at Woodbine. The folks there today are thoroughbred fans. Know that card got cut short because of high winds. Was there any track that compared in terms of wind to Woodbine?
No, I used to hear the stories about Chicago. There was big stories, the Windy City. There'd be big stories about Chicago. But then some of those Chicago horsemen, like a Walter Paisley or Dave McGee, they would actually come out here and experience Woodbine. And it's like, wow, is this place ever windy? And it is. It's a really, really tough wind to deal with there. And we were kind of questioning that, whether it's because, it's just a windy spot and that's why the airport's there, or is it because there's no buildings around or something? I don't know, but you and I both know. I'll tell you, if, you want to go and get, go do some kiting or something like that, some parasailing, that's the place you want to go.
Yeah, high winds. Race number 3 was all they got in today at Woodbine for the thoroughbreds, and then they had to call it a day. That being said, not nearly as windy here at Woodbine Mohawk Park. We saw it's coming from the northwest at 27 kilometers an hour, but a little bit earlier in the day, I would say it was a lot windier. So we should be good for some good racing action. But you were noting to me the main difference here at Woodbine Mohawk Park in terms of the wind was it's almost a crosswind through that last turn.
Yeah, that's where it really only affects you here. Different times we'll say, the wind's going to be chasing them home or pushing against them going down, but you don't really feel it until you come around that last turn, just to actually where the sign is there.
Okay.
That's where it seems like it really it hits you hard there. Another thing too, I just wanted to say quickly too, it's kind of nice having you here. I mean, I don't know how they got you here. I mean, you're the busiest guy in harness racing, I swear.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know. Horse racing. Okay, you're the busiest guy in horse racing, and I am glad that they were able to pin you down and get you in here. So, I'm really glad that, getting this opportunity.
Oh, it's always fun to sit side by side.
I sat side by side with your dad at many times.
Okay, there you go.
I have.
All right.
Yes,
well, there you go. He might
wasn't
be
always
watching.
at the track.
He might be watching tonight, so we'll say hello there to. I know my mom's tuning in. She doesn't miss a night, and she said to say hello, Randy.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
There you go.
Yeah.
She'll be really pleased to know that made it on air.
Scott and Lori,
all right,
good to hear from you.
Let's talk a little bit about last night's racing action before we focus on this Sunday evening program. And the main focus last night was the Harvest Series, and a big story was that of driver Daryl Thiessen. He was your star of the card. What a night he had, and he all kicked off there in race number 1. An emotional night for him. J-Port Cash gets things started in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, this horse was huge last week, and he really is fitting into the circuit well, Daryl Thiessen. He doesn't just drive horses, he thinks things out too, and even last week with J-Port Cash, first start Lasix, takes him to the back, makes a big move on the end of it, getting him in, finishing a good second. This is second start Lasix. Look at this, Mark. I mean, he absolutely annihilates this field, and Mr. Thiessen is a very, very happy camper as he approaches the wire right there.
Absolutely, a salute there, and I know it was a tough day for Daryl. He noted that on social media, and it's funny how this racing game works sometimes, Randy, right? Sometimes in your toughest days, you get a nice win and really an emotional night, but he took that win and said, I'm not going to stop there, and moved on to race number 3, Strongman Hanover for trainer Josh McKibben picks up the victory.
Yeah, I mean, another perfect drive. He gets him in a really, really good spot and is able to get the job done. I'm not sure if this is quite the race there. I think this is the Fillies and Mares Open.
This is going to be the second race of the evening.
Yeah,
you're right.
Tells on a roll, just getting the job done on Grit and Grace.
Yeah.
Interesting bunch. Tells on a roll. She goes through her little ebbs and tides, right back in good form again.
Yeah, that was in the Mares Preferred, and we've got another open type contest tonight with that open trot. Continuing on with the Harvest Series action, we're going to check in with Tricks Up My Sleeve. Scott Young is going to get this one home as a slight favorite, winning over the off-going in 158.
Biggest thing that I find with this Tricks Up My Sleeve is, boy, oh boy, when he comes on the track there, he basically, when he looks into the camera, he's like staring through your soul. What a set of bright eyes this horse has on him. You can just tell he's a really, really intelligent horse, and, obviously has a lot of talent too, so great job done by Team Hater and Scott the Answer.
Really enjoy these Harvest Series races after we get past that Grand Circuit action. You get some horses with a little bit of inexperience or a little bit of tough luck trying to cash in. And later on in the card, in race number 10, it was the Tulsa King who would get the job done at 5-1 for Team Ratchford.
Yeah, really, really nice effort in this one as well. And I agree with what you just said there too, Mark. It's amazing because when we're used to watching all the best ones and then watching some of these horses struggle against the best ones, then the best ones go away. Now all of a sudden they're the best ones, and it's just great to see the way that they come get better and better. And Daryl Thiessen, a nice second in there.
That's right. Got home the Bill Budd trainee Parlay King to finish second, but it was the Tulsa King. So that was a look back at last night's action in the Harvest Series. It was a 12-race card. We saw Remember the Alamo win the Open Pace. Any quick thoughts on that one? We saw a look at that Fillies and Mares Open. What did you think of Remember the Alamo last night?
I think that he's found a really, really good home in the Bayer-Giron barn, and I hope that they keep him here. I love watching him race. Just absolutely love watching him race.
Been a fun horse to watch, even from early on in his career. Had a lot of high speed, a lot of good closing speed there at the early stages of his 2-year-old career. So that was a look back at last night's action. Now we turn our focus to the Sunday evening program, 11 races in total. And let's first talk about race number 2, Randy. And we're going to start with the trotters here. And at this time of the year, I think back class can usually shine through. Also, horses maybe finding themselves into a little bit of an easier spot. This, though, I think is a pretty wide open contest to cap off our early double as we're on the trot. Non-winners of 6,000 last 4 or 13 last 8. Optional claimer on that 30,000. Your thoughts here on this one, because the morning line would tell you that you can go many directions.
You know something, this is probably one of the toughest optional 30 claimers I've ever seen. This is a really, really well put together race. Big props to Jimmy Gillespie and the race office for putting this together. And I agree with you. There is a lot of back class in here. You can go a lot of different ways in this race, even with bringing in post position and everything else. I settled on the 7-horse Tactical Strike is the way that I'm going to go in here. I think that Scotty Young has been getting along really, really good with this Gary Murner trainee. I think that when she brings her A game, her kick can just about take down anything. It's a devastating move that she's got on the end of it, and Scotty seems to be able to employing it really, really well. She did race her last 2 starts in this class, and she's no stranger to it. Last time she had the 10-hole, had to do a little bit of a float move out of there to get away 7th, but still 7th by 14, had a lot of ground to make up. They went big fractions there down to the half and 56, but here she come with the big kick. Again, Tactical Strike there at the odds of almost 20-1. So let's take a look at her, Mark. And I'm going to go with her up on top in here. Again, coming back to this non-winners of 6,000. It is a tough race, but I just think that this kick of hers, when she's on her game, can just about take down anybody. So this is the route that I'm going to go.
And this was going back to November 2nd, so a couple Sundays ago. Much different conditions than what we saw last Sunday. Of course, winter weather had started to strike here in Ontario, but maybe it'll be a little more of a resemblance in terms of the conditions tonight. But you talk about that kick home from Tactical Strike, who ultimately is going to finish second here, but rallies from 7th. Back half speed was good in around 56 seconds. Veracruz got the win. We will see that one back tonight. Didn't race last week. Travis Cullen for Tim Cherwayko, but a tougher draw. Goes from post 4 win now to post 9. Could that be a bit of an equalizer tonight for that one in terms of trying to double up?
I think so. I mean, obviously the form's there, but the big thing too, it was a beautiful trip by Billy Davis.
Yeah.
He got him down on the rail and he skimmed the pylons up the inside. That's another reason why I kind of like Tactical Strike, because if Billy doesn't get lucky and find that seam up the inside, she's a winner. So I think that she could actually come back here and prove that she's the one to go with in here. And Veracruz moving to the outside. Southwind Domino, another horse, that could cause some problems with the outside. The big thing that he has to do with Tactical Strike is just not overdo it in the first quarter, but yet get her away in a spot where you can apply that kick on the end of it,
Well, we'll take a look at the selections here in race number 2. And what stood out to me is the pick of Crystal Baller, the number 6 by Garnet Barnsdale. That's going to be his spot play tonight, and we'll talk more about that later on. But a horse that's actually going to move up a little bit here off a good second place finish. This horse has hit the board in back-to-back starts, and sometimes what I look for are horses that still race really well in defeat, and that's exactly what Garnet thought of this one last time out. So he'll put that one up top. You'll sprinkle that one in, and you're going to opt to go with Tactical Strike in race number 2. We'll turn our pages now a couple of races ahead to race number 4, and we'll stay on the trot. Non-winners of 9,000, last 4, 18, last 8. $22,000 the purse here, and talking about very similar type horses, and horses that from that last race we talked about, be pretty familiar with a lot of these starters. A slight 2-to-1 morning line favorite is going to be Bella Cavallo. This one is in for the tag, as we've seen over the last few starts, and goes back in now to the Fellows barn. So what's that say to you that they go right back to bring this one in?
They like her. They like her. They want her back in the barn, and and what I like about it too is we got such great smart horsemen around here, you know what I mean? Like, they've been racing her every week pretty well in the optional 50. Once in a while, they would try her up in the optional 70, but she would struggle. They'd bring her back to the optional 50. She was either first or second in there, seems like all the time. Collins pick her up last week. What do they do with her? They don't try to move her up and to go right back into the same class. Yeah, there's a risk that you're going to lose her, and there's a risk that the Fellows are going to lose her again here tonight, because what do when they claim her back? Go right back to this optional 50. This is her class, and she's a standout in here, but I don't look at her as being the toughest one in here. I'm going to go Sid the Kid.
Okay.
I think that Ben, other than the fact that, remember, the Alamo raced so well last night, his barn's been kind of a little bit quiet, and I think that he's ready to unleash a couple of these horses. Non-winners of 9,000 for Sid the Kid. To me, that's not a tough bunch.
Yeah.
We can see down on the very bottom when he did race the non-winners of 9,000, he was able to whack it out for Trevor, 25-cent favorite, and was an easy winner. Now he comes back to this class. The form isn't fantastic or anything, and we're picking up Louis Watt tonight, so I'm going to take a shot with Sid the Kid and hope that Benoit's got him on his game. So let's take a look at his last race. 7-day rotation going on here, had the 4-hole to work with, and this is a non-winners of 13,000. So again, a drop down from what we're going to see here. We've seen him in the Open recently, 4 down. He finished 5th in the Open trotting a mile in 52. I just think that the tools that he brings should be able to take this bunch down. And if that's not enough to convince you, the fact that we're looking at a horse that's got $144,000 made this year, compared to the rest of them, I mean, that is a lot. So let's take a look at Sid the Kid, this last race for Trevor Henry, and I thought he'd come up with a real nice 4th in here. Had to come first over with him a little bit early, but look at the body language on Trevor. He's not asking him too much. He knows at this point, the race is over and he's only going to be 4th, so he's just letting the horse kind of chill and relax, but still a very, very good effort.
So Sid the Kid, there's one to watch as we get to tonight's 4th race. Devil's Arch was also in the mix there. There's one that's going to reunite with James McDonald after finishing 6th last time out. Another horse, it's a slight drop in class enough that it maybe makes a difference.
I think so, and I think that this is a really good horse. I really do. I think this was a great purchase by J.F. McGuire. This guy could go a long ways. I can remember when Jody and Carl first come out with him, it was all breaks. Remember, his whole card was breaks, and then he just started to come into his own, and now he's just turned himself into a really fine kind of a horse. It's the kind of horse that I think at some point we're going to see him in the Open trot.
One I'm intrigued to watch there in race number 4, and we see that number on the board, is the number 2, My Retirement Dream, who comes back now to the big track after racing at the preferred level at Flamborough Downs, and it put together a real nice run. Here's a horse that's won 3 of his last 4 starts, runner-up last time out in that preferred at Flamborough. They come back to the big track for owner, trainer, breeder Eli Wagler, see what that one can do, maybe get a piece. So that was a look at race number 4, and as we continue through getting you set on this Sunday evening, let's now turn our focus to race number 7, and we'll talk about pacers for the first time tonight after talking about some veteran trotters for the most part. Here we're going to talk about some pacers going for a purse of $16,000, starters for a purse of $10,000 or less in their last 3. Kind of a mixed bag of horses in terms of this group, and as I just talked about with My Retirement Dream, a horse like number 8, Batter Up Hanover, is another one that's shifting from the preferred ranks at Flamborough here to Woodbine Mohawk Park. It can be a little tricky, though, to figure out where some of those horses slot in terms of the ranks here.
Yeah, it is. My big thing with Batter Up Hanover, because we've seen him here for a few years, and I can honestly say that I love the job that Hollingsworth does with him. I think he races real good for him, but he's a one-move horse, and it's a good one, but you better apply it at the right place, because if you go the 3rd quarter in 27 seconds, you're going to be going the 4th quarter in about 32. You got to apply it at the right place, but if you apply it at the right place, he is incredibly fast. So let's go back Mark. Let's go way back to
we're going
September
back.
the 22nd. And this is going to be his only start here. After this start, he goes to Flamborough. Like Mark said, been spending some time in tough company over there, but follows it up with 3 straight wins at Flamborough. So the form has not disappeared since he's gone to Flamborough. Let's see where it was when he was here. In against Let's Get Rocked, in against a horse called Ripasso. Both of them have been racing very, very good. But again, I think that this guy's got an incredible kick on the end of it for Todd Ratchford. James McDonald going to be picking up the drive on him tonight. So there's a lot to like about him. And again, they're a big, big move on the end of it for Todd. You can see him starting to come on the outside with him now. And, you know, just a really, really nice horse. Like I said, can apply the speed when he needs to do it. He was 3 wide all the way around this turn. Bob picks him up for the deuce on the end of it, but still a good effort, and then goes to Flamborough. Been winning machine over there. Now he comes back into a class that I think was a lot easier than the class that we just showed you. I know it goes for a little bit more money, but we're not going to, you know, he's not going to see some of the ones that he had to race against. The biggest one I think that he has to face in here is what are we going to see with PL Aussie? That's the big thing, is what is going to happen with PL Aussie.
Well, you're going to be the only person going against PL Aussie. You're going to go to batter up Hanover. Yeah, PL Aussie, it'll be interesting to see which horse shows up here tonight. One that had spent some time away from Woodbine Mohawk Park for different chunks of this season. We did see him back here 2 starts ago. That was a little over a month ago, facing some tougher competition. On that night, he was in against the likes of Blue Hunt and finished 10th. But took a trip back to Rito, racing the preferred ranks there, can slot into this condition here in those starters for a purse of $10,000. I mean, if he shows up with the kind of effort that we've seen in the past, I clearly see him as a heavy favorite in here.
Oh, I agree with you. I think he's the horse to beat. I really look at him as the horse to beat, you know, and I mean, you know, for a horse that's not really on the top of everybody's mind, you know, a lot of people in North America wouldn't know who PL Aussie is, but if you race up here on our circuit, he brings a lot to the table, this guy. He can race different ways. He can race in front. He can race from off. He can race down in amongst them. He's just a really, really nice horse, and like Mark said, when he's in his class, he is extremely tough, and I'm pretty sure that this is pretty close to his class.
All right, well, Randy, you'll try and get batter up Hanover home there in race number 7. Let's continue on now. We'll talk about our next contest. That's going to be race number 8, and we'll stay on the pace here. And again, it's a bottom class, an opportunity to get back off the schneid for many of these horses here. Lakers Bank is your 2-to-1 morning line choice. Travis Henry for trainer Victor Putty. Obviously, the horses that are going to be class dropping to a level like this are the ones that are going to catch your eye.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this guy is really taking a tumble.
Yes.
You know, those are some tough classes in those non-winners of 6, non-winners of 9s. Now he's going to face non-winners of 1,000. I think that this is basically a gift. I'm looking at him as a free square in my pick 5 in this. He's got some nice horses in here, but, you know, one of the toughest ones going to be He's in Control, but he's just coming back from a bit of a layoff. You know, Captain Butler's starting to race good in a barn that is really starting to fire up and with Gerard Demers, but I got to go with Lakers Bank. I think Travis Henry's looking at him at a really, really good drive here. So let's go back to October the 25th for Lakers Bank, and this was non-winners of 9,000. A couple of the horses that he was racing against, Pacino, Hanover, what you looking at. He's not going to be seeing those kinds of horses here, but this was a good effort up so high in class. You know, he's going to end up finishing 8th, but it's just the effort that I want you to see, the fact that he only gets beat a few lengths, and again, this is a class that's about 4 levels higher than what he's going to race in this one. So let's take a look at Lakers Bank. And, you know, already been a winner on our circuit this year, Mark, in 50. Nobody else is really even close to that range, you know, Storm Along in 51 and change over our circuit. But he just brings a lot. Basically what we were talking about with PL Aussie. He just brings a lot, but PL Aussie has to race in a little tougher class. This is the bottom right here. This is as low as it's going to get for this dude. So I think it was a good effort that he puts in. You can see Travis Henry now with him to the outside of the track, and, you know, he's not going to be a threat for a win. But again, look at the horses, the ones that he's in against, and he only gets beat like about 3 lengths. So that was the one of the times that he raced here that I thought was a really good effort, way up into the highest class, non-winners of 9,000 that he's had to face. Now he tumbles right down to the very bottom. I know the form isn't fantastic. I've said it lots of times. I have a tendency to support a horse on good form moving up than a horse on bad form moving down. But I don't think his form is bad.
Right.
I think it looks bad in the program, but as what we just showed you, I don't think the form is bad, and I think he's going to love this drop down.
So you'll put that one on top, so too will Garnet.
She's a sweep.
Gislain, Kevin, right across the board. Do want to touch on the number 4 quickly, though. He's in control. First start off the bench, just the single qualifier. Was in a qualifier that saw Urban Hanover and Brew Hanover, so you're going to kind of have to do your own thing. This is just a see how he races this week approach.
Yeah, that's what my thing. I mean, normally he wouldn't even be on my radar right now, but unfortunately, we got this world driving champion that's going to be driving him tonight, you know what I mean? And and I know, Mark, like as funny as it sounds, anytime that James is on a horse, you have to look at that horse. You just do. And sometimes I find myself going to a horse just because he's driving it. And it's just, he brings it year after year after year, the good ability that he brings. So I'm not going to use him, but he does look dangerous in here.
All right, that was a look at race number 8, and we'll now move our focus on to what will be the feature race tonight. This is going to be the Open Trot. It's going to go for a purse of $40,000, and it's going to be a compact group of 6. The talent obviously very deep. Horses we're very familiar with, and a new horse to the scene for our Open Trot. That's going to be the number 3, Mr. Bluebird. And if you caught it in the changes, does race for the traditional connections of that of the Cullen stable. Mr. Bluebird, though, coming from Okasfonstead now to the Cullen barn, right into the Open Trot. I'm probably going to watch one time, but also we know what Cullens can do first time with a new recruit.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, that he brings your eye to there, right? First time Cullen, like you said, the lines look fantastic. He's been racing really, really good for Oka down in the States. First start Lasix, he's been racing so good. And first start Lasix, I mean, can he even get better? First start Lasix. I'm a second start Lasix kind of guy. I like that, much better. I will use first start Lasix if I think that the horse is in a spot where he can win anyway. He's coming into our top class. So again, like Mark said, I'm going to take a wait and see, but boy, there is a lot to see about Mr. Bluebird. And thank you, Cullen Stable. They bring these good horses here all the time, Mark, constantly.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is the fact that it doesn't hurt. It's great for our product when we see another horse come in from south of the border that can come right into our open ranks, and hopefully he'll establish himself at that level. Obviously, we're very familiar with the other 5 horses that are going to be in this race, and we're going to get back to an Open Trot. We haven't seen one since a couple of weeks ago. That's when Logan Park was victorious in a big-time mile, 150-4. He raced really well last night.
He did.
In the fan duel, closing up real well to be finished 3rd.
Yeah, he just kind of found himself in no man's land coming out of the first turn. Been there, done that. Not a good feeling, but Dougie saved what he could save, and obviously Logan is back good again. I'm going to go Amigo Volo, my friend. This is where I'm going to go. I mean, the old is going to stay with the old, I guess, in here. So there's just so much to like about what this horse does every single week, And again, James gets along really, I think everybody gets along really, really good with Amigo, but James certainly gets along good with him. And we're going to show you his last start here in the Open. He going to end up finishing 3rd in there. But on a first over effort, like I said, I think that this horse's form has been really, really good for quite a while now. And I think he's just continuing on with it. So even though he doesn't get the job done, it was a first over effort. He did have to spend some time out there. Trevor ends up making a break with, I think that was Osceola. And, here's Tyler on the outside with this big fella right now. And, like I said, spent a lot of time out there, but keeps coming forward. Typical Amigo Volo. And then going to go back to a driver that knows him very, very well, and James McDonald. So he's going to be my top pick in here. But, this is about as good a class that you're going to get at this time of the year for depth anyway.
You'll see Gaines Hanover there ultimately finish the second, giving up the lead in the last 16th to Logan Park, who was just next level on that occasion. Gaines Hanover 8-5 on the morning line. Amigo Volo 9-5. Talking about other horses in this race, I think the fact that Usain Hanover now jumps up, we'll see if that one can maybe make something happen here for Dave Maneri at this open level. There was a horse earlier we talked about in Sid the Kid, who you saw one line that was at the open level, and that's just sometimes where you have to go when you're
That's
having
where you gotta
success.
go.
You got to go up the ladder, and some of them, it's a brief stay at the open level, but some get up there and they maybe can thrive.
That's right. They can stay up there for a long, long time there. So Usain Hanover, another one like you just brought up there. I got him in for third. You know, I mean, I'm impressed. I know this is a big step up for him, you know, going from the non-winners of 12, 13,000 into the open. But the talent looks like it's there. He's coming out of a good barn. So I'm going to throw him in as a part of it.
All right. Well, look at that. Everybody's going in a different direction. That's what we really like to see. That'll come up in our open trot, race number 9. It will be our on-track feature.
Pretty tough when you got to all a 6-horse open trot.
Yeah.
Eh? That's pretty tough when you got to all it.
It's a tough race. I'm looking forward to it. That will kick off our final pick 3 of the night. What'll kick off our late double will be race number 10. And let's talk about the 10th race, as we've got non-winners of 3 pacers here. Talking again about a compact group. It's a field of 6. Bruno No is going to be the slight favorite in here. And again, horses that, as I was talking about earlier, ones that we've seen have to take on some pretty tough company at different points in this season. That being said, they're all starting to kind of slot themselves into their spots now at this point, and will probably become very familiar with each other as the season goes along.
Yeah, Bruno No, he's made a believer in me. I mean, when he come up with that first win there in 49, I just thought it was just kind of a more or less of a one-time deal, not a big deal. And then he comes out his next start, and it was a good effort, you know, a really good effort, as a matter of fact. The third quarter in 26-3, I think, was the reason why, you know, his eventual downfall in that race. Then he comes out last week and, you know, just totally rubs it in my face. I mean, this is what I was kind of hoping that I would see. Captain Hurley raced really, really good against him. Rapasso, a full brother to Tarasi, been racing good on the end of his miles. This is a really nice field. Aquinas Hanover, you know, sometimes an overachiever, sometimes an underachiever. Don't really know what we're getting, but we are getting the world driving champion. But let's take a look at Bruno No in this last race. And this is the one that, like I said, this hasn't really made a big believer in me. Multiple moves just to get to this point. Had the 3-hole, left hard, got away in the 2-hole on a snow-covered track in 26-2. Makes another move, you know, on the outside, coming to the head. And this is, like I said, when he is able to make multiple moves and still get the job done, and what I consider to be, you know, more or less an easy kind of a victory, then he's made a complete believer in, out of me. Right at this point there, he's a different horse than he was before. You'd be having to really, really chase him to get him away from horses, but now he's just powering away from them like a good horse. But you're going to see Travis Cullen make a big move here on the end of it with Captain Hurley down on the inside, and also the 5-horse in that race too. That was Andy Moore with I can't remember which one it was his, but also had some good wheels on the end of it too. So yeah, Bruno No. That's the way I'm going to go.
All right. Well, that'll be another good one there in race number 10. And you talk about what was a snow-covered night. It was a 26-4 final quarter there from Bruno No.
First up.
Yeah, getting over the track, no problem at all. Shouldn't have to deal with any snowy conditions tonight. Going across the board here, the number 5, Bruno No will be the top pick in race number 10. And that's going to take us now to our final race on this Sunday evening. It's an 11-race card. And when we wrap things up, as always, in the 11th, it is the Jackpot High 5 wager. Our carryover starting to develop once again. It's just shy of $12,000. And in our finale, Randy, pop-up series final for the 8 claimers here, and getting a chance to race for an inflated purse of $20,000. So who's going to cash in here?
I think that, you know, especially with the morning line, the way that it is and that, you know, I think the 6-horse kind of stands out. Well, no, 8-5 morning line. I thought, no, that's the race number 1. Yeah, her
this
morning
is the
line,
one
10
you
to
and
1.
I right away during the changes took note. Fancy lettering.
Yeah. I mean, this is the one. Like, I mean, all kinds of changes going into Corey Giles's barn. You know, Corey's always been able to make a big difference in a horse instantly. You know, picked up a lot of his early lessons from Dave Maneri. You know, so really can make a big difference in a horse. But this one's been racing good all along. The only time it really kind of raced bad was in its last start, but I just think it was just too much on that snow-covered track. You know, they were giving the track 3 seconds at that point. She made multiple moves to get to the half in 57. It was just too much. If you know, but we're getting all kinds of changes tonight from Corey Giles. He's going to go from blinkers to a blind. He's going to go from steel to aluminum all around. Nikes all around. And he's going to move the hobbles up a half an inch. Going to go from 60.5 to 60 inches, tighten them up a little bit, probably because of the 4 aluminum shoes that are being added to her, you know. But everything that he's done tonight has set her up for speed. and she's got the middle of the gate to draw. So I'm going to go fancy lettering. 10-1 morning line. She was the favorite in her last start in against the same bunch. And now she's 10-1 morning line. I'm all over it.
All right, that's where you're going to head. The number 3, My Only Sunshine, is going to look to try and double up after winning by 5 lengths in that pop-up series leg a week ago for Travis Cullen and Grace Marshman. But fancy lettering, I like that one on top. We'll see if you can get around that 10-1 morning line. If you do, I'm sure that you'd be jumping all over that. That'd be a nice gift. Let's talk about now the pick 5. We're going to take ourselves back to race number 1. Take a look at your ticket here, Randy, where obviously race number 4 stands out because you're going to hit the all button. So going to be looking for some singles to get you to that spot.
Yeah, race number 1, I think this is, again, a huge drop down for It's Major into this non-winners of 2,500. I mean, if I had, I probably should have just pulled the single button on him too, but Uncle Shank's coming down too, and he can be a bit tough, so I'm going to go too deep in there. Race number 7, I'm going to go tactical strike, put the cards on Scotty Young with that big kick. In the 3rd race, I'm going to go back to Mr. Ibiza. I used him last week on top. He didn't do a whole lot, but he didn't race bad. Second start, Justin Turcotte. Second start, Jody Jamieson. Second start, Lasix for this guy as well. So Mr. Ibiza is going to be single there for me. In race number 4, this is the Sid the Kid race, Mark. We could go all kinds of different ways in there. You talked a little bit about My Retirement Dream, Devil's Arch, Bella Cavallo back in the Fellows' barn. So I elected to all this one, and then I'm going to try to finish it off with a single, and that's going to be Let's Get Rocked. A horse that missed last week there due to weather, but has been racing amazingly well for Cliff McGuire this year. And in my opinion, when you're in this 18 to 24, technically a 20 claimer, I think he's the horse to beat.
All right, let's look at your early pick 5 ticket. I'm glad you left number 3, Uncle Shank, on the ticket there in race 1. He's my best bet of the night. Let's look now at the pick 6, where again, we'll keep things thin here as we try to roll right along. But what I do appreciate is that when you get to race number 9, that open trot where we saw our various analysts all going in different directions, that's not a race you were going to single.
No. It was a little bit too tough, but I did go pretty heavy on the single. We got a $4 ticket there, eh, Mark? I mean, just about anybody can afford that one. So, in race number 5, my single's going to be Let's Get Rocked. Race number 6, it's going to be, race number 6, it's going to be Quebec Hanover. In race number 7, I chose to single Batter Up Hanover. In race number 8, it's going to be Lakers Bank. Huge drop down for him. And then in this trot, I went with Amigo Volo, and I went with Hussein Hanover, thinking that, if there ends up being a little bit of a tussle, to me, he's the one that could potentially get the job done, but at a good price. So I threw him in with the mix.
It's not a barn that's just going to have a horse go up to the open and just go around,
hoping
that they can get back down the next week. That's one that will likely look to play. As we take a look now at your late pick 5 ticket, we do want to report a scratch in race number 3. That's going to be number 6, Magical Arthur, who is a vet scratch sick. So number 6, Magical Arthur, will come out of race number 3, and there it is up on the board. So that might change things for a few of your multi-leg wagers. Now let's go back to that late pick 5, Randy, and take a peek at your ticket.
Okay, in race number 6, I chose to single the 4-horse Quebec Hanover. Race 7, going too deep, PL Aussie, and Batter Up Hanover. Race 8, Lakers Bank. I just think that this is a gimme with him. Race number 9, I go pretty deep in here again. Even for these, I use the 1, the 2, the same as the pick 6, but I'm also going to use the 5 and the 6 from the outside. And in the 10th race, I decide to go all. I know it's kind of a chintzy thing, but I do think that there's a chance there that somebody, it could be even to be in Aquinas Hanover, is going to get overlooked. And then they could end up winning at a big number. And then we always say to ourselves, oh, how could we not have that horse at that number? I would have played him at that number. Well, I'm playing them all.
All right. Well, you're covered there. Hopefully you can get to that last leg in the late pick 5. Let's take a look now at our plays of the night as we wind things down on the pregame show. Again, 11 race card coming up on this Sunday evening. So what do our various analysts think? Some horses to keep an eye on here tonight. We start first, though, with the man to my left, Randy. Let's take a look at several of the horses that you've identified.
Okay, all in's going to be It's Major in race number 1. Waples Watch is the race number 2, Tactical Strike. In Beat the Favorite in race number 7, Batter Up Hanover. And Worth a Look is going to be Fancy Lettering in the last race at a huge morning line.
All right. Well, there are your plays of the night. Let's talk about those of Jeslan, Kevin, and Garnet. Uncle Shank. So Jeslan's with me. He says, due to explode here, Uncle Shank already taken some good support here early on, sitting at 5-2 for that opening race on a class drop. I'm with him there. My friend Jose's one that can always seem to kind of bust through at the right time. That'll be a spot play for Kevin Plaucha coming up in race number 2. And then Crystal Baller, as I mentioned a little earlier when we talked about that second race, Garnet's on that guy after liking his effort in defeat last time out. So that's a look at it. Randy, going to be a fun night of racing.
Yeah, it's really great having you here. You bring so much to the show. Glad to have you here, and hopefully we have a good night tonight. I think that we will. It's going to be good racing going on.
I think it will. Hopefully Mother Nature stays on our side. Like I said, not nearly as windy as it was earlier, so hopefully some even playing conditions for this 11 race card. There you have it. That wraps up the pregame show. Time to turn our focus to race number 1. We'll step aside and come back and get you set. Enjoy the action. Best of luck.